Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the ABCs of Finance Moment. My name is Mika McClendon, and I'm the founder and CEO of Amazing Rare Rubies. And we are here on every Tuesday to talk about the ABCs of Finance Moment, which is basically a moment that is all about providing tips and nuggets that enhance our overall financial literacy one step at a time. So thank you so much for taking time out today. Of course, we go across various platforms, so we don't know how many people we may end up having, but for all of you guys that's taken out time to join us, we really appreciate it. We pray that your Tuesday is off to a wonderful, wonderful start. So today I want to talk to you guys from a subject of coping with debt. We talk about the ABCs of finance on here because Amazing Rare Rubies has found over the years of helping women become the woman God created them to be. We really found that one of the main areas that we struggle with is our finances. And when you look at the statistics around how Americans are living and how they're actually making it, it's very, very, it's sad, actually. It's a hardening thing to hear. It just depresses you when you have almost 80% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck. We have almost 50% of Americans who can't handle a $400 emergency. And so over the years, we have found that it's important to begin to help people understand their finances. And so the ABCs of finances is all about that. How do we enhance our literacy one step at a time? So in this segment, we talk about basic things. We talk about a lot of things that, like for me, we weren't taught in school. We didn't learn about, the importance of having a good credit score, because in order to get, loans with good interest rates and purchase homes at good interest rates and cars and things of that sort, you need good credit, or you need a ton of cash, right? Because if you got the money to go pay cash for it, you don't have to worry about it. But most people need that credit, right, to get started. And so when we get out of high school, what is amazing, you graduate high school, you turn 18, and almost the first piece of mail you get in the mailbox with your name on it is a letter from a credit card company that has a big stamp across the top that says pre-approved. And when you're 18 and you've been getting money from mom and dad all this time, somebody tells you you can get a credit card of your own with your name on it. We're going to give you a credit limit so you can go out there and spend as you want to, right? You don't have to go ask mom or dad for money to go do this or that. That sounds good to an 18-year-old. But what we don't realize is that literally starts the financial whirlwind for us, because we step into that financial zone not really understanding the negative impacts of having that credit card. Now, there are some positives to a credit card as well. It's not all negative, but we need to have a mindset of behavior that helps us manage money first, versus being thrusted into, here's a credit card, and we get excited because we're 18 and we are grown now and we got our own credit card. Yes. And we get into this debt. I used to be in over $30,000 worth of debt. It was very stressful. It was a headache living paycheck to paycheck, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I had more month than I had money. And I didn't sit well with that. It causes a lot of stress. And most people don't. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Coping with this debt, and then talking about how to get out of it. Don't just sit there in coping with it. Let's be clear. We want to talk about also, how do we get out of this debt? How do we get to where we are debt free and we start becoming, in a way that our finances become a healthy relationship with us, and not where we're always just looking at money as a tool to pay bills, but we need to be looking at it as a tool of how to actually build wealth and how to stop the cycle of the financial whirlwind just taking place all the time. So that's why Amazing Rare Rubies came up with lamps. And I shouldn't say Amazing Rare Rubies did, because really it was God that gave it to me. Lamps. And what we talk about in lamps is we talk about the benefits of why people should take our Amazing Rare Rubies ABCs of Finance class. And this is truly the benefits actually also around the importance of financial literacy, period, right? So we believe Psalms 119, 105, which says that God is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And we believe that we need a lamp, we need a light, a guide to see and help us on this financial journey to becoming. So the L stands for literacy. We've got to educate ourselves, get the knowledge, get the skills that we need so that we can effectively apply them. Keyword apply, because everybody loves to say knowledge is power. Well, I differ with that a little bit. I'm one of those that says apply knowledge is power. We got to apply what we are learning. So knowledge, getting that knowledge, getting that skill set that's going to help us. The second thing here is accountability. We've got to learn how to be a good steward over what God is trusting us with. If we can manage the little, he will give us more. But we've got to learn how to be a good steward over the small things so that we can be queens and kings over the large things that he has in store for us. Then there's management, right? This is where we got to learn how to manage our money, understand the importance of decision making and allocating it, telling our money where to go. So many people live right now with their money telling them where to go. And that's not where we want to be. We want to tell our money where to go because that gives us the power and we're over what's going on with our money. Okay. And then the P is for planning, controlling your income, your expenses, your savings, and your investments. We need to be in control of all of those particular things. So we got to make sure that we begin to plan with our money as well. And then last but not least is stability. And this is where in doing these things, we develop and we build a solid foundation that's going to help us with our finances. So again, that's what this is all about. The ABCs of Finance Moment. So I'm thanking you guys for joining this morning, and we're going to go ahead and get started and dig into coping with your debt. So there are just some things that I wanted to give you around this. A lot of it is statistics because it's important to understand the statistics and know where you are in that range in this area. And then it's important to begin to understand what we can do to try to get ourselves out of some of this. Okay. So let's get started. CNBC and Experian actually put out a report 2020, 2021. Don't hold me to that exact time frame, but they put out a report that basically showed that the average American debt right now is $90,000. The average American household, let me get that word in there. Average American household debt is $90,000. That's including stuff, your credit cards, personal loans, mortgages, things of that sort. $90,000 is a lot of money. Well, I began to think about that and I thought, well, let's kind of look at that and break that down a little bit, right? Because we really need to understand who's got all this debt. Am I one of those? I probably am. I don't want to own up to it, or maybe I'm not, or wow, is it my child? Do I need to help them understand this debt? So let's dig into that a little bit. So here's something that I looked at. For example, I'm a Generation X. So, you have the boomers, the Generation X, you have the millennials, you have Generation Z, all those generations that we have, right? So I am a Gen Xer, right? Now I'm going to go back to the boomers because the boomers, that's kind of like my mom and my dad, our parents, right? If you're born between 1946 and 1964, you're a baby boomer, right? Baby boomers right now are ages 58 to like 76, and their debt is like an average of $97,000. Now, I don't know about you, but that means like if you're like me and you have children, their grandparents' debt is an average of $97,000. That's a lot of debt when you're 58 to 76 years old. That's a lot of debt, right? But check this out, Gen Xers. So I'm in the Gen X age, and these are the ones that's born between 1965 and 1980, okay? The Gen Xers' average debt, about to blow your mind, is $140,000. Did you hear that? $140,000. Gen Xers are in six-figure debt. You know what happened layaway happened, credit cards happened, buy here, pay here happened, get it now, worry about it later happened. And Gen Xers jumped into that. And Gen Xers are now 43 to 57 in age and in $140,000 worth of debt on average. Six-figure debt. That breaks my heart. Just let that rest with you for a second. Then there's millennials, right? Now, millennials were born between 1981 and 1996. And millennials average $87,000 worth of debt. Yeah, 87. Now, who are the millennials? Those are our children. If you're a Gen Xer, the millennials are your children, which means that basically they're on track to have six-figure debt just like their parents probably have. Is that not depressing? Scary, kind of like. These are people between the age of 28 and 41. Okay. And then this one was really scary for me. This is our Gen Xers. And Experian just sent out a report on Gen Xers, and the Gen Xers who are these are like your ages 21 to 32. I mean, you have some younger because Gen Xers, I think, go all the way to come up to 2010. So you have some in there that's like 12 years old. They're not old enough yet, but 21 to like 32, and their average debt is $27,000 already. $27,000 already. So basically, the way our generations are going, we're going in a pace and at a pace that basically is going to equate to we're dying in debt. We're going to be generations of just debt, debt, and debt, and debt. That's going to be hard for people to dig out of. So we got to understand, number one, how to cope with where we already are. And number two, how do we begin to get out of this thing? We've got to look at that. So let's take a brief look here and talk about some things that we need to consider when we're coping with this debt. Number one is self-awareness. It's not the first time you guys have heard me say that. We believe the first step, well, I should say the second step, because our first step is always prayer. We need to seek some guidance first, right? Make sure we're on the right track when it comes down to this financial stuff. But the second thing we really have to do is some self-awareness. This is where we really need to sit down and say, how did I get here? What did I do to contribute to where I currently am in my financial status? Am I even happy with my financial status? And the answer for most people to that is no. Because again, 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. I just gave you the generational dollar amounts debt-wise, where the average is. Most people aren't happy with where they are. But we've got to do some self-awareness and begin to own up to, what did we do to contribute to this situation? How did I get here? So the first thing is taking that ownership, doing that self-awareness to say, yeah, I did go buy those shoes. Yeah, I did go out and purchase that purse. Or yeah, I did go buy that car. I do buy a new car every 2 years. I'm leasing a car. I'm not owning a car. I'm renting. I'm not owning a house. What are you doing that's contributing to where you are in your current financial situation? And renting and leasing is a big one. You know, I know for me, I was guilty of it. You know, when you hit that 18 or you hit 21 and you're out the house, you're just so glad to be out on your own because you've grown and you can do what you want to do and all that good stuff. You know, the first thing we do is start renting apartments. And then, I mean, when you think about it, you leave the apartment, you leave with nothing. If you leave a hole in the wall from a nail or whatever, guess what? They're going to charge you for them to come and fix that little nail, that little hole in the wall for the next person who lives in an apartment or a place and doesn't really put up pictures or make it their own. Everybody does that. But then they charge you for that when you get ready to leave. And if you've been there a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is, you've paid, let's just keep it simple, $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, and you begin to multiply that by the years that you were there. So if you were there 3 years, you paid these people $36,000. You don't even walk away with your deposit good, possibly, because they're going to charge you, like I said, for those holes in the wall, and they got to paint and fix it all up for the next person, but you pay for that. So you've been there 3 years. You put your hard-earned money into it. You paid them $36,000, not including utilities or what have you, and you walk away with nothing. That's how we begin to get this mentality of it's okay not to own, and it's easier to rent. It's better. I don't have to worry about the maintenance of this. I don't have to maintain that. But we walk away, guys, empty-handed. So we got to do a self-awareness check and say, how did we get to where we are? And then we've got to own up to how we got there. That's number one. Number two, I encourage you, get a copy of your credit report. You can get a copy of your credit report once a year for free. This is where I tell people, this is where you got to face the truth, face the music about what's going on right here. Get that credit report, begin to understand it. Look at the different components of the credit report. That's probably something I should probably teach on. I'm going to take that. That's a good one to probably teach on, the components of a credit report, because a lot of people don't know what it is. They don't know what those components are. When they get the credit report, all they're worried about is, where's my credit score? Can I get approved for this? And then a really great example of that is when we go to get car loans. We go to get a car loan, we walk in, and the salespeople know what to do. So they go, okay, what you're looking for, and you tell them what you're looking for and all of that. Okay, what can you afford? And then everybody wants to get down to, well, how much of a car note can you afford? And that's when you say, oh, I don't go over 400. My pocketbook can't take more than 400. And then they go back there to the finance guy and they work all these magical numbers that you don't know anything about. And they come back out and they say, well, I couldn't get it at 400, but I got it at 403. And you go, okay, I got it. I can do that. Yeah. So I can get a car today. And you're so excited about getting that car that what we don't pay attention to is the interest rates on the car. There are people paying like 14 and 16% interest rates on cars, not realizing that this $30,000 car is about to cost them $40,000 plus because of the interest rate. But we get so worried about how much the car note is, right? Because I can write out that $400 check. We get so worried about that we miss the point of how much we're truly paying out and where our money is really going. So it's important to get that credit report because it's going to show you all of your interest rates. How about that? It's on there. It's going to show you all of that stuff and your payment history. So you can see those red flags that are on there. So you know where you are. It's important for us to start our journey beginning to be financially right where we are, but you got to know where that is. So get a copy of your credit report. That's number two, because that's going to help you face the truth, face the music about where you are. The third thing is write down all your bills. Now, this is a funny one because every time, even when I'm teaching the ABCs of Finance class, and we do this as part of the class, and we talk about what those bills are, and I ask people to write down all their bills. There's always like everything. Well, what about my nails? It's a bill. You got to pay to get these done. It's not free. It's a bill. And most women, as an example, we go get our nails done every so often, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. We get our hair, our nails done, whatever that may be, whatever your perk is to yourself, whatever it is, it's a bill. It's an expense. It is coming out of your check. You have to write it down. And see, a lot of times when we do our bills, we don't write things like that down because that's not really a bill. Yes, it is. You're going to do it. So you want to write that down. Write down all of your bills because this is where you're going to see the big picture of what's going on with your money. And this is a part where we have a lot of aha moments and go, oh my God, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. And I'm going to tell you guys, I was guilty of that. The first time I did it, and I tracked my expenses for a month. That's also something I encourage people to do. Track your expenses for just 30 days. Don't change anything yet. Just track where you spend your money, how you spend your money. I did that for 30 days. And at the end of the month, when I added up those charges, I had $611 worth of non-essential stuff. And by the way, the average American spends almost $500 a month in non-essentials. What's non-essentials? Those are things that you really don't need. It could be the quick trip stop. It could be the Starbucks stop, but it's non-essential. It's something that we want. Doesn't mean we don't treat ourselves to those places. Because honestly, I'll be truthful. I had a Starbucks yesterday, but I probably haven't had a Starbucks in about 6 months. But I did treat myself to one yesterday. Paid almost $6 for it. It was a treat. But there are some that do that every day. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you are accounting for it and you know where your money is going, and it's not stopping you from becoming financially stable or financially independent or getting to financial freedom. That may be that person's perk. Like some get their nails done. Some people may decide I'm going to do my nail money in Starbucks. That's okay. But the key is for you to sit down and understand that so that you can see where your money is going. So writing down the bills are going to give you that. That's going to give you that big picture there. Okay. Then the next thing is, I think this is number 4 for you. Yep. I think that's number 4. Understand your interest rates and your finance charges. Remember I gave the example earlier. I talked about a car and we are so busy running in trying to make sure the car note is going to be $400 because I know I can afford to pay $400 that we don't pay attention to the interest rates, and the finance charges. Understand what those are. As you write out your bills, begin to understand what is the interest rate you're paying on this. What type of interest is it? Is it a fixed interest? Is it adjustable? Is it compounding interest? Is it simple interest? What type of interest is it? It's important to know that because that impacts how much money you're paying back for that loan. And especially I encourage people to do this on cars. And I know I'm really sticking to the cars today. That's like fresh in my mind right now. Because now they're financing cars up to like 70 months, 72 months for a car. When you finance the interest rate into that, and all you need to do is get a loan payment calculator offline. You can just type in Google loan payment calculator. Type in your information, how much the car costs, how much you put down, how much you're paying monthly, how much your interest rate is. It'll calculate all that stuff for you. And you'll see how much you're truly paying for that car. And even down to homes. A home and a car has a fixed rate for them. So let me go ahead and give you that, a fixed interest rate. And I know I said understand which one it is, but this is where like your rate doesn't change unless you decide to go with a variable. Because like a lot of people did that with homes and they did that adjustable rate and they got those big balloon payments. Whoo, that's a little scary, right? That's one of those you got to know what you're getting into to do that. But most home mortgages and car loans are on a fixed rate. So that's where it's staying the same. You're paying that same interest, but you need to know what that interest is because over time, that interest adds up. And truly, people with credit scores that's like 500 and something are paying like, I know, 12 to 14%. Some may be paying even more on car notes. That's a lot. That means that $35,000 car is going to cost you about $45,000 or more. Yeah. Who got an extra 10 grand to pay in interest? So it's important to understand what that interest is. It's important to understand finance charges and things. A lot of times when people get loans, they go out, I want a loan for $10,000. The people come back, get them approved. They're not paying attention to the interest rate. They get a check for $9,700, not $10,000. They get a check for $9,700 and go, well, wait a minute, what happened to the other $300? Well, there was a $300 application fee for the loan. So we took that out of the 10, but you owe us based on the 10. Yeah, that interest. That's interest you're paying that most people don't even think about. So you have to sit back and look at your interest rates and understand how much it is costing you to do a loan, to borrow this money, so that when you're looking at your debt, you're beginning to understand it. So and then the last thing you want to do here is develop a financial plan, a financial strategy of how you're going to begin to pay off some of this debt. It's one thing to cope with it, right? And we're talking about coping today, right? My idea of helping you with the coping is helping you to understand it, right? But you then have to come up with a financial plan around how you're going to get out of debt. And you got to work yourself out of it. It didn't take 1 or 2 days to get into debt. It's not going to take 1 or 2 days to get out of it. Now, I know some people like to give information on debt consolidation, debt management, and debt settlement. I don't do a lot with those three things: debt consolidation, debt management, debt settlement. I call them the DCMS. I don't give a lot of information on those because although they help some, let me put that caveat out there. I know people who have utilized those services and they have helped. I am not a big supporter of debt consolidation, debt management, or debt settlement, because when you go to those firms and you hire them for help, they do the work for you. You basically pay them a fee and they do the work for you. The issue I have with that is that when it comes down to our finances, finances are not mathematical problems. We all know 1 + 1 = 2 and 2 + 2 = 4. We already know that. We know how to add and subtract. So the problems we have with our finances aren't mathematical. They're behavioral, because we are accustomed to doing things a certain way, because they started training us to live in a society of debt when we turned 18 and we got that first pre-approved credit card application in the mail. And so we continue to do those things because it's what we are accustomed to. So again, where debt consolidation, debt management, and debt settlement works for some, it doesn't change the behavior of the person so that you don't want to do it again. And I know some people who've gotten out of debt using those services, but they've also gotten right back into debt. Why? They didn't have to work to get out of it. They didn't have to change anything. All they did was write out a check and say, okay, you go manage that. You call and you negotiate with my creditors. You get them to drop my stuff down, and then I'll pay what you come back and tell me they said. That's pretty much how that works in a nutshell. Now, I am supportive of calling your creditors and renegotiating your terms and showing an effort that you want to pay. But if you do that versus paying somebody else to do that, you begin to have some skin in the game around this, and you begin to kind of understand, you know what, this is a lot of work. This is not something that I want to be doing. I have better things I want to do with my time than sitting on the phone 30, 45 minutes with one credit card company trying to work this out. They may or may not give me what I'm asking for, etc. But when you start doing that, you begin to learn the importance of getting your own finances in order versus, again, having someone else do them. But people have utilized those services, like they said, and they have worked. Now, I'm a big believer of getting out of debt because, again, we're learning how to cope with it today. Understanding it is what I call learning how to cope with it. There are other ways people cope as well, but then we got to get out of it. And why do we need to get out of this debt? We need to get out of this debt because one thing about not having debt is less stress on your life. It's less stress on your body, on your mind. There's nothing worse than worrying about how you're going to keep a roof over your family's head. That's a lot of stress. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, or the money gets funny, or something happens and it doesn't come in, or somebody took money out your account automatically that you weren't expecting, something got garnished and all this other stuff, that can be a very stressful time. And when you have others that's depending on you, it can really be very painful. So I encourage you, get some education regarding your finances. Look at different ways of how you can increase your overall financial literacy. One way that Amazing Rare Rubies has is that we have our ABCs of Finance class, which is all about learning how to attain debt-free status, how to budget down to zero, and how to create cash flow by beginning to be right where you are. This class is a 4-part series that we do several times a month. Our next class is going to be coming up, and I'm sorry, I thought I put the right date there and I did not. So let me apologize to you guys on that date, because this is showing March 15th and March 26th. We've already done those dates, so I apologize there. The next class is going to be coming up April the 7th. That April 7th class is going to be at 7 p.m. That's on a Thursday, 7 p.m. We have not scheduled the Saturday class which we probably will have coming up in May, because it is a 4-part series. So when we do Saturdays, it goes for the whole 4 Saturdays of that month, pretty much. So we only do one Saturday class like a month or every other month, depending upon how it falls. But this particular class will help you again with learning how to attain debt-free status, how to budget down to zero, and how to create cash flow. If you go to www.amazingwhererubies.com, we have an ABCs of Finance tab that you can click on, and you can sign up for the classes. I need to make sure that our April 7th class is posted. You may just see our boot camps on there. And by the way, we have our first boot camp tonight, which is free. This boot camp is going to talk about financial literacy, why it's important, understanding it. And then we're going to talk about 6 basic things everybody needs to know about their finances. And this is a class I encourage you to take. Like I said, it's free. So all it's going to take is an hour of your time. It's tonight and tomorrow night from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can go to our website, still up under the ABCs of Finance tab. You can sign up for it. We get your registration, and we will send you the Zoom link for tonight's class, which again will be at 7 p.m. on Zoom, and it's free. So the ABCs of Finance class, again, that's going to be April 7th. And then we have our workbook that came in. We're so excited about this. This ABCs of Finance workbook goes with the class. Yes, we were so excited when it came in. And you see mine, I'm all tabbed up on mine and everything already, because of course I use it to teach, but it follows along with the class. And of course, you can put your wonderful notes and things in it, the different things that we talk about and discuss. This is also available on our website. If you decide to sign up for the class, you can also purchase the book. It's $15 for the book online, purchased directly from Amazing Rubies. So, of course, as always, we pray that this information today has been beneficial for you. We always encourage you to keep God in every decision made, every lesson learned, and every, I say it, message taught. Until the next time, I want you to make it a Ruby day. Thanks so much for joining. Have a blessed one.
You are going to want to quit because you are human. But you've got to know that you must keep going.